It's that time, Travis. It is the Losing Sucks Fantasy Football Podcast, and I am your host, Dustin Blanton, along with my co-host, Travis Masterson. We are finally into the thick of it. It is time to recap a full week slate of fantasy football and NFL football. There's just so much to talk about. We have so much to cover, man. And look, regardless of record, regardless of how I did fantasy-wise, I'm just glad football's back. Plenty of heartbreaking things to talk about this week. We had a fun Monday night game last night, I should say. But more importantly, Travis, how are you doing? You had a pretty good week of fantasy, or so I've heard.
I had a great start. I expected going into Monday night to lose 4 or 5, I think 5 more games than actually happened. It was one of those nights where you need like 17 from one guy, but he can't have 19. And it was right in that sweet spot window in 5 leagues. So
must be nice.
It turned into a 20-9 start, and I can't complain with that. Rashad Penny needed 1 more yard to beat me, and they decided to kick it, and they missed it, and that was the game, and I appreciate it. Brendan McManus, if he makes that and they come back in, dump it to Penny, I could lose. So it was a great week. We saw some unfortunate injuries. We'll get into that, but overall, man, Sunday was fun. There's something different about having Sunday ticket and you're clicking between games, watching all your guys versus the preseason and talking all off season. Now we get to see what's actually happening. So it was very nice to sit there on Sunday and do that.
Yeah, getting all the games, force feeding it into your eyes. I love it. That's what I'm here for. Let's start the show off right though, Travis, apparently with what we got wrong a whole bunch, because let's quickly recap our big picks from last week. We went a total 1 for 8. Now, beautiful. For those of you who aren't familiar with what our big picks kind of are, we pick 4 picks each week of players we think are going to outproduce their projection by 5 points or more. And the only player that we got right through the both of us was Michael Pittman. I got the projection pretty close,
right on the money.
Right where it was supposed to be. And that felt okay, but missing everyone else, Russell Wilson, if you watched Monday's game, you know that was a struggle to pay attention to. And Russell Wilson did not look super comfortable against his former team. And that was a loud stadium. But Cole Kmet obviously doing nothing. Joe Mixon had a decent game, but didn't outperform his projection. And you were introduced to Kyler Murray being on your fantasy roster for the first time starting a season, Travis. And I
have quite a bit of Kyler Murray this year. And I tweeted, I think at halftime or maybe in the third, and said, is this what owning Kyler Murray shares is like? You watch it and you think, what was I thinking? And then the game's over and he still had 20. So we've seen a few people out there saying, Trey Lance's floor, this was a floor game and it was 9. Well, I think this is Kyler Murray's floor game and it was 20. So I think they're a different type of player. And I think Kyler Murray is elite. I projected 60 rushing yards in this one. He had 30 in the first quarter, and I thought, here we go. Here comes the 60.
It always seems that way.
I think he finished with 29. So that was tough to watch.
That is rough.
But yeah, like I said,
don't worry.
Brandon McManus bailed Kyler Murray out on
your projections get better. You also picked Elijah Mitchell. Not your fault. But
I got to bail out from an injury there. I think he was on pace. He had 41 rushing yards in the first half.
Sure. But can you really ever call a San Francisco 49ers running back on pace when you know that somewhere down the road they're going to kick a Lego and be out?
Week 1, I wouldn't project an injury week 1, but
sure.
Yeah, he had 41 midway through the second. He was on pace for the 100 and probably a score in the rain, but we'll never know. Elijah Mitchell, we'll talk about him in a bit too. Adam Thielen, I was wrong on this one. Justin Jefferson torched them. They did not need much Adam Thielen. And finally, Zach Ertz. I think Zach Ertz had 11 or 12. He hit his projection right on the money. I said 5 over his projection. It did not happen.
Right.
Zach Ertz did not kill you. I bet he was probably a top 10 tight end on the week, but he was not a big pick by the definition.
No, he was not. We also had our quick hitters as well. We picked some over-under stats. Of course, Matt Ryan was outproduced by the QB3 on the week in Carson Wentz.
These went much better. I think we should say who did what here.
Yeah, the players played for sure. We both played. We both picked Russell Gage or Julio Jones over Russell Gage. That went well. We both picked the under on Kyle Pitts having 75 total yards. That went well.
Way under.
Olave and Landry were our picks for the Saints target and yards leader, and Landry got the targets right, Travis, so good job on that one. And Dameon Pierce, I picked the over just to be contrarian. You picked under. Good job on that one.
39.5 yards was that line. That just looks so low. Like, if I were to pick that right now, I'd probably say over. But, my gosh.
For sure.
Rex Burkhead, starting running back for the Texans.
Yeah, he played a lot. He played a lot of snaps. He played just all game. So it was tough. Not what you want to see if you were hyping up Dameon Pierce and taking him in the 6th round, 5th round, like I saw in those later drafts right up until the season. So maybe better times are coming towards you, but probably not this next week with the Broncos in town. But you know what? You've got hope. You've got hope. He's going to set you up hopefully for some success. Unlike a few guys who were very unlucky on the field, we've already talked about one of them. For these guys, it's less of it's not so much a goodbye as it is a I'll see you later. And we're talking about injuries. It's the unfortunate truth, the unfortunate fact of football that it is a dangerous game, and you're going to face injury from time to time. You have to kind of adapt on your fantasy roster, but some decently high picks were taken away from us, and by default, like Dak Prescott, good example here. He is out for, if you want to take Jerry Jones' word for it, he's going to be out for 4 weeks. He'll be back in 5 weeks. If that's what you want, I don't know, because Travis, I want to ask you this. Are we potentially looking at a scenario like we saw with Russell Wilson and his mallet finger last year, where he gets a surgery to stabilize it and then he's just not the same? He can't execute the same. Granted, this is a little bit different injury, is a fractured thumb, but it's on his throwing hand. And we have high hopes for this offense. In particular, the storyline of CeeDee Lamb becoming the overall wide receiver 1, or at least a top 5 wide receiver. Where does this leave you in feeling for the Cowboys right now?
Obviously, CeeDee's projections and claims of being in that elite category are now off the table. It's unfortunate. It's nobody's. Yeah. I mean, it's nothing you can do about it. It's not a right or wrong take, but he sure didn't look great. Well, it wasn't even him. I mean, the Cowboys' offense looked terrible, so maybe it is kind of a bailout from those takes, but you're not selling CeeDee Lamb unless somebody believes that CeeDee Lamb will continue to be himself and offers you a very good deal. I'm holding CeeDee. I tweeted earlier today, I think Cooper Rush, I think I said he's slept on. Not meaning like Cooper Rush is a top 25 or top 20 fantasy quarterback, but Cooper Rush is good enough. Living in Dallas, I've watched enough Cowboys, and I know that Cooper Rush is kind of like an Andy Dalton. Like he can support one wide receiver to have wide receiver 1 numbers. I think CeeDee Lamb, if Cooper Rush locks in on him, he has all week in practice to just figure out how to get CeeDee Lamb the ball. I still think he's a top 20 guy.
If someone offers you like Amon-Ra, or Christian Kirk, I'm just looking down the list. If someone offered you like Terry McLaurin for CeeDee right now, are you taking those guys over CeeDee?
That's tough.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where, I mean, look, anytime there's an injury, you're looking at all of them. You're taking Kirk, you're taking Amon-Ra, Terry McLaurin.
I think I take Terry, and I think I would take Amon-Ra. I don't know that I would take Kirk yet, but
Sure.
He's on one of the segments coming up. Christian Kirk had a great showing week 1. So
Yeah.
that's a very tough question. I think we need to do some digging and see, and maybe put out an article on what are you doing with CeeDee Lamb.
Sure. I mean, but that's just something that people are facing right now. You know that anytime there's injury, there's opportunity, and people are sharks, so they're going to be coming after CeeDee with those, not sketchy offers, but things that make you really have to question how much you like CeeDee. So, stay strong. We'll cover it. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at Losing Sucks, and we'll be talking about it on there as well, putting out some information. The next guy, pretty important part of a high-powered offense in the past, and we were pretty surprised to see him out there and doing so well week 1 in Chris Godwin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Coming off that ACL, he looked good, playing. He was pretty quick, explosive even, and then it happened. You have the leftover effects of that ACL surgery. You see a lot of hamstring issues. Granted, he was put in a particularly difficult situation trying to turn back for that ball, extending that right knee, and then having to compensate where maybe that's just too far outside the realm of his abilities right now. So he's going to be out for a little bit with a hamstring strain. And
but this
we're
is
going to
why.
see.
I mean, this is why you and I both said I don't think Godwin is Godwin until week 4 to 6.
Sure.
And they rushed him back.
For sure. They're like, he can run.
Timeline-wise, that was so fast. And
take the brace off, and he can go on the field.
It was a matter of weeks. The brace comes off, he's ready to go. So
yeah,
it's unfortunate to see with Godwin. I actually traded away Godwin in my home league on Wednesday, I believe, or maybe Thursday before Thursday night game. I traded Godwin for Lazard. And then Lazard was ruled out, and I was like, oh, gosh. And then we watched the first couple snaps, and Godwin has 40 yards, and I'm thinking this is going to be the worst trade of the year, and we're week 1. So Lazard should be coming back. Lazard's injury, he got stepped on. It wasn't like he had an actual rolled ankle or something. His foot got stepped on. It was just too painful to play, but he should be back this week.
Sure. I mean, let's hope, because that's another offense that really – you can't ask for much less from the wide receivers.
That game could have been so different if
Green
Watson
Bay
catches that one ball.
For sure. We'll get to that. That's a matchup I want to talk about later. Another guy that we want to talk about, similar in stature and importance to an offense as Chris Godwin, and that is one Keenan Allen, was lighting the Raiders on fire. Going 4 for 64, looked unguardable as he normally is, just favorite target of Justin Herbert, and then comes up with a hamstring. You knew it as soon as you saw it, mid-route, grabbed that hammy, and he was done. And you know what? We're kind of waiting to see. We don't think we're going to see him this Thursday against the Chiefs, but there maybe is hope that he'll return in a few weeks. But Travis, this is one of the things that you look for in an early season, event like this, where you're talking hamstring. If they don't rest him right, if he rushes back too much, this could affect him the entire season. So not what you want to see for a guy you probably had to take in the 3rd round.
Yeah, I'm actually not too concerned with Keenan. I think it's probably 2 to 3 weeks. He's had hamstring issues in the past. I was watching something from the fantasy doctors, from Jesse over there, who we met at the expo, and he showed some stats of Keenan Allen's previous injuries, especially soft tissue, and it's always been 1 to 2 weeks. He's never missed more than 2 weeks at a time. So I think Keenan knows his body well. He's a vet. He's been through this before. He won't rush back, but I think 2 weeks is probably a pretty safe number. It's not like they came out and said he tore it. It's going to be a while. It'll be week to week.
We'll see. We already talked about.
He's a buy low, actually. I think Keenan's a buy low.
Keenan Allen?
Yeah, people might freak out on him.
Interesting. All right, I have to keep an eye on that. Elijah Mitchell, we already covered. He's on IR, out for the next 6 weeks, or 4 weeks actually, might be, but he is regardless out for at least the next month. And so get well soon. Jeff Wilson, maybe a guy. He's not a guy I'm really looking to heavily target on the waiver wire. but
I am. I feel
I'm
differently.
not 100% not.
I'm not saying like 60% of your budget, but especially a non-budget where you just have waivers, I think you should definitely be the number one.
I wouldn't blow a priority on him. I wouldn't.
Really?
No, because look. Tell me who it is. Is it Jeff Wilson? Is it Tyrion Davis-Price? Is it Jordan Mason? We don't know. And with as much turnover there is, I'm just gonna wait. I'm just picking up that second guy, Jordan Mason probably, and not burning a priority waiver spot, and take it from there. Because we've seen year after year after year now, where it's these irrelevant guys at the start of the season now have a prominent role. So. Not gonna be burned 5 times. So
yeah, I think. But if you have guys like James Cook and Mike Davis, guys that you were hoping for week 1, and they're clearly not going to get enough work, I'd much rather have Jeff Wilson. So you might,
if you're really
for somebody
thin,
like that,
then you could do worse. If Rex Burkhead isn't out there, then sure, go ahead and grab Jeff Wilson.
Yeah.
But you know what, Elijah Mitchell broke your heart. Some guys taking your breath away. Let's talk about them both, Travis.
All right.
Let's talk about our guys that really took our breath away in the first week. Okay, Travis, who were some guys that really did well, that really surprised you, and you're loving what you're seeing?
Breath takers. Number 1, A.J. Brown looked like an absolute monster. I watched this entire game. It was one of the 2 that was on TV. And DeAndre Swift on one side, A.J. Brown on the other. They were the clear stars of this game. 10 catches on 13 targets for 155. There is no alpha 1A, 1B going on here. He is the clear top dog. A.J. Brown looking like a huge steal in the 3rd round. Some people got him in the 4th round, depending on your league. He's going to be around that top 5. I mean, you got Jefferson, Kupp, Chase, Diggs, and A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
Who else? With CD falling out, maybe Devontae Adams is right there too.
Sure.
So yeah, top 5 to 6 for A.J. Brown. Carson Wentz. Well, Mr. Ben. Week 1, your QB3 with 312 yards and 4 touchdowns. Thank you, Carson Wentz, for validating an offseason of supporting you. Matt Ryan has some catching up to do already, or Ben will be shaving his legs. We'll see if he holds that. If he holds that bet and pays the due when the time comes. Finally, Kareem Hunt, 15 touches, 72 yards, 2 touchdowns. Hunt is an every week starter, especially in PPR formats. They want him to get the ball. It is not a handcuff situation. We have known this. He's a huge part of that offense. He's the number 2 option there. It is Chubb number 1, Hunt number 2, everybody else 3, especially when all they really want to do is control the game and run the ball. So, yeah, Kareem Hunt is, let's just put it this way. Going into week 2, I am starting Kareem Hunt over Alvin Kamara until I see what the Saints are doing with Kamara.
Whoa.
Yep.
Whoa. That's spicy. Oh, goodness gracious. What are you doing?
I don't know that these are the same Saints. Alvin Kamara is great, but this could be a different offense. 9 carries. I don't think that they're just going to say, here, Alvin, do everything for us. If everybody's healthy, James is going to spread the ball. You don't think he gets
more than 9 carries?
I think he will. But Kareem Hunt looks so good.
Well, sure, against the Panthers, but
yes,
like, come on.
Who did the Falcons have? I mean, who did the Saints have? They had the Falcons.
Sure, absolutely. But I'm chalking it up to week 1. Alvin Kamara does not have a Nick Chubb problem. You know, Alvin Kamara is going to be there.
He has a Taysom Hill problem.
Oh my God! Did you just say he has a Taysom Hill problem? What?
Let me. Can I give you a little bit of reasoning behind?
There's
Kareem
no
Hunt.
reasoning. You're just gonna be spewing nonsense on this show.
Just
oh my
hear
gosh.
Hear me with open ears here.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Kareem Hunt versus
Garbage.
the Jets, week 2.
Sure.
Alvin Kamara versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who we just saw absolutely bottle the Cowboys.
Yes.
I prefer Kareem Hunt versus the Jets. Tampa is the best run D in the league, period. When those two linebackers are healthy, they're all over you. I just don't like the matchup for Kamara. I'm okay sitting stars if my other option, like Kareem Hunt, has the Jets. I could be wrong. I can always be wrong.
No, man.
If you watch the Cleveland game, you're thinking they want him to touch the ball a lot. 15 touches week 1. Alvin Kamara versus the Bucks. No thanks.
That's just, I don't know, man. You just said he has a Taysom Hill problem. Like, it does not compute.
Who had more fantasy points?
Oh, get out of here.
How could Taysom Hill have more rushing yards and points than Alvin Kamara?
He does.
He's going to have a role, and he got goal line.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
It's annoying. It's going to be annoying. I'm not saying Alvin Kamara's value on the season is diminished.
I'm not sure, but I'm not like if you want to talk weekly, like you might rank Kareem Hunt over Alvin Kamara, which I still think is bonkers. I understand what you're saying. I could be talked into this week.
Okay, that's all I'm saying.
But this whole I need to see it from Alvin Kamara. No, you don't. He's not he's not Damian Pierce. He's not someone that I need him to prove it in this offense that he can play. Alvin Kamara can play in any offense in the NFL.
They just played one of the worst teams in the league, and they had no priority to get Alvin Kamara the rock. So
it's week one.
I don't want any part of going
one.
Against Tampa's run D. I really
week don't. One. There's gonna be guys narratives are gonna change. You know, it's okay.
Speaking of Taysom Hill, third highest tight end owner percentage in best ball for yours truly is Taysom Hill. That's a good way to make money right there.
He's a cheat code. He is a cheat code at tight end.
Dustin,
all right, so.
Let's move on. My breath takers have clearly taken your breath away.
Absolutely. I need to catch my breath. Let's talk about the guys that I found to be breathtaking as well. We'll start with none other than the king himself, Patrick Mahomes. Now, I don't want to play the easy card here. We all know Patrick Mahomes is good, as well as my other breath taker as well, Justin Jefferson. But Patrick Mahomes came out and absolutely shut people up, myself included. Okay, I was worried. About these Chiefs. I had questions. I knew Patrick Mahomes was good, but the narratives, this division, it gets me every time. This division has grown. This division has been in the gym. They're working out. Devontae Adams. This. Pass rush, Khalil Mack, all these other teams. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I forget. I get caught up in narratives. The dude went out there, granted, it's against an absolute Swiss cheese, but you have to against bad defenses. He put up 30 for 39 and 360 yards, not even counting the touchdowns that he threw. And the dude just looked magnificent. This offense is a problem because you do not know who you have to cover because he can throw it to absolutely anyone. The next guy that I want to talk about is a rookie. He kind of took your breath away from how much he was targeted in meaningful situations by Carson Wentz, and I'm talking about Jahan Dotson. This is a guy that we've seen it the last few years, and I loved him coming out of college. He reminded me so much of Deontay Johnson. Jahan Dotson is useful all over the field. He just gets open, and he's so dynamic. He has a role all over the field. And as you've seen in this game, he was targeted more than Terry McLaurin. He was targeted more than, I think it was Antonio Gibson as well. He is their Carson Wentz's new shiny toy.
Yeah.
This year. And granted, I'm not saying this offense is going to blow the doors off the NFL, but you're looking for, especially in deeper leagues where you have to start maybe a flex at times, or if he's on your waiver wire, pick this dude up. He's going to be valuable. Wide receiver twos on decent offenses, they can be productive.
Do you feel like it could be one of those situations where it's hard to know? It's kind of like a roulette situation. You're like, okay, Dotson, I'm plugging in there, and then it's Samuel. And then you plug Samuel in, and it's Terry. And then and then all of a sudden, it's Logan Thomas, and it's Gibson. Like, is there enough of a reliability there for you with what you saw week one, or do you want to see it over 2 to 3 weeks?
I want to see it more. Now, I'm excited about his production here. I love the 2 touchdowns, but touchdowns are fluky. I'm not sitting. He had 5 targets. Okay, I'm not sitting here saying this is he's going to be Deontay Johnson. I'm saying he is someone you can be excited about and look for scenarios where he's going to be useful. Whereas, like, if Terry McLaurin comes up lame and has a hamstring, or Curtis Samuel has been fragile the last few years, look for scenarios where Jahan Dotson will gain value, because he will. And second half of the year, he could have a good role on this team. And I'm just saying, stash him if you can, because he's going to get better and he's going to be used in this offense. They much like you could take with Chris Olave. They took him in the first round. They wanted this guy on their team and they want to develop him. So I like Jahan Dotson. Again, stash and hope for down the road. One guy you don't have to wait for production on, though, is Justin Jefferson and this Vikings offense. If you watched this game against the Packers, you saw a modern, up-tempo, and most importantly, a spread offense where you've got Justin Jefferson lining up all over the field, Travis. Jair Alexander wasn't on him for whatever reason most of the game, but even on the routes where he was covering him, he was cooked. And Justin Jefferson just made people look silly.
Worth every dollar.
Every single penny that you're going to pay that man, Justin Jefferson is that dude.
The announcers were like, throws it over the middle, and oh my God, how is he so open? I was like,
I remember I was watching that, and I saw that. I'm like, how? Like, there's one guy on the field you have to cover. How do you miss that guy? And this offense, you didn't see a lot of production from Adam Thielen. Dalvin Cook wasn't a guy that lit the world on fire. He's going to have games as well, though. But this offense is super exciting, and that's why the entire Vikings offense is my breathtaking performance of this week. But everything isn't always rosy in the NFL, Travis. There are guys that underperform. There are guys that fall short of our expectations and just absolutely break our heart. Who are some players that broke your heart this week, Travis?
Man, I feel like there's so many that you just hype up all offseason and you really want to do well. So, let's see. Where do I want to start here? I'll start with DJ Moore. I have some shares of DJ Moore in home leagues. 4 touches for 50 yards and no touchdown is not going to get it done. This was one of those things where you saw the bomb from Baker, and you're hoping it's DJ Moore on the other end of it, and it's a 2, or is it a 3? Is it a 2? And it's a 3, and it's Robbie Anderson, and he's gone. However, I think, and a lot of that game was ugly, but Baker showed enough to where I feel like he's going to get that offense. He's going to get it done for DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey. Those 2 guys are going to be just fine. But yeah, 4 for 50 out of the gate, that's rough, especially because he's probably everybody's wide receiver too.
Probably what you're going to expect, though, with Baker at quarterback, unfortunately.
4 for 50?
Yeah, 4 for 50, 5 for 65, something like that. Like, that's
I think on the season he'll average 75 to 80. I think he starts to get it going. Again, if that's DJ Moore on the other end of that catch, this whole conversation is so different.
Sure, but
because that's a 60-yard touchdown, and that's what I'm saying. The offense has those plays there. DJ Moore is just as good at finishing a play like that, getting open. Yes, he gets more coverage than Robbie Anderson, but they'll find a way to get DJ the ball. He's an incredible talent. Austin Eckler, 72 yards, no touchdowns. That is not enough for a top 5 to 8 overall pick against a Raiders defense that we didn't expect to be that good. They didn't look that great. Their defensive line is strong enough, but you need a lot more from your first-round pick. You're going to lose a lot of games if Eckler gives you close to what he did week 1. Aaron Jones is also in this section for me. 8 touches. 8 touches?
Yeah.
In a game they were trailing from the start? Impossible. Where was Aaron Jones? Hopefully he gets it going Sunday night at home against the Bears. And,
Aaron
Jones
going to shut him down.
Again, end of the first round, start of the second. Aaron Jones, if he gives you anything close to that, you're losing most weeks. A lot of people were able to match Eckler at the end of the first with Aaron Jones. That's an unfun week 1. Finally, Mark Andrews, who I'm not worried about whatsoever. But, again, this is not what you paid for. And we warned Mark Andrews' price is very high because of what happened over the last half of the year. 5 catches for 52 yards, outscored by 11 other tight ends this weekend. That's going to be very frustrating if he does that in half of his games. So,
well, I mean, to some, if he was only outscored by 11 tight ends, Travis, to some, he would be a tight end 1.
I don't want to hear that.
So
5 for 52 and no score is going to get you killed for what you paid for.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what you get with the tight end, though. I mean, even one that's as integral to the offense as Mark Andrews is, you need a touchdown to really make that week worth it. Otherwise, it's just, that's how fantasy goes.
But he shouldn't require that. He should be a 7 or 8 catches for 75-yard guy. That's what people bought him. That's the price that they paid for him.
Yeah. I completely agree. Like you said, where did he end up? He was he's a tight end 12, but you talked about, another 20 yards, and he is he's right up there, the top 10, top 9 tight end. So could have made a little bit of a difference. The Heartbreakers for me, though, Travis, I was not short of them at all. Mine start off with one Trey Lance. You watched him against my Chicago Bears in what was one of the ugliest fields I've seen, and I'm not talking about Justin in the NFL this week or anytime recently. Probably the worst weather I've seen in a game since that blizzard game against New England and Buffalo last year. Now,
yeah, that was terrible. We saw that at like 10:30, and we texted each other and we're like, no. Right.
Trey Lance was playing on the same field as Justin Fields. I just want to throw that out there right now. Trey Lance went 13 of 28 for 164 passing yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. Okay, not great. But don't worry, Travis. He has a safe rushing floor that he will save your week because he rushes for, checks notes, 13 times for 54 yards.
Oh.
If I could show you a list of all the quarterbacks who rushed for 13 and 54, none of these guys are saving you, okay?
Yeah.
I don't want to hear the field was bad, okay? You have what was supposed to be this awful Chicago Bears team. Granted, no one put up 50 points, no one put up 20 points. But the Trey Lance truthers are out in droves because they're just trying to defend their boy, saying that Trey Lance is still going to kill it. And you know what? He still might. But these are the games why you draft a rushing quarterback to give you that up to where you shouldn't have games like this. They happen. It's not super uncommon. But again, the narrative that Trey Lance gives you a safe floor because he's going to be rushing a bunch, that's not always the case. Like you said, he ran 13 times. You love to see it. But 54 yards isn't safe.
Let me ask you this. Do you think we just saw the worst game of the season for Trey Lance because of the weather?
I think there's a possibility, yeah. I
feel like we did.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be, I'd say it's probably 90% chance that this is the worst game, save for a, multi-turnover. They can't keep the ball, and it's just awful. You see those games all the time as well.
And we saw Stafford go for single digits, Joe Burrow for 10, Tom Brady for 11, Aaron Rodgers for single digits. I mean, it was an absolute shite show at quarterback all weekend, and Trey Lance was just part of it. At least he has the weather to blame.
Right.
It's just fun to pile up on Trey Lance because he's so polarizing.
Sure. Right. The next guy shouldn't have had the week he did, especially with Keenan Allen missing time, and Mike Williams, man. What is this? What is this box score? 4 targets, 2 receptions, and 10 yards. It's like, okay, Keenan's gone. I'm out too. I don't feel like playing well right now. And then DeAndre Carter's like, I'll play. I'll catch balls. Yeah. And then Mike's like, yeah, me and Joshua Palmer are going to sit over here and just kind of chill. It was weird. I mean, they still won the game. The Chargers are, going to be fine probably. I mean, Austin Eckler, you had Gerald Everett sightings, which is just killed me as well.
Yeah.
But Mike Williams, 4 targets, 2 receptions, 10 yards, nothing else. You really hope that changes next week, because this is a guy you probably spent a 3rd, 4th round pick on.
I was so excited to get as many shares of Mike Williams as I did. Hopefully,
sure.
I mean, he has to turn it around, especially with no Keenan. That had to be a fluke, right?
Yeah, you would hope so. It especially coming up this next week against Kansas City. That's a guy you're gonna want, and in what should be probably a high scoring matchup, Mike Williams is a guy that I'm still gonna have confidence in, because they're going to need somebody. It's not just gonna be DeAndre Carter.
Yeah.
Another guy. This one hurt, Travis. This one hurt because I wanted to believe that this could be his backfield right out of the gate. I'm still holding out hope, but Travis Etienne showed me some. Okay, he showed me flashes, but I need more. I need more from the coaching staff. I need more production. I need more opportunities for him, because he had, 4 rushing opportunities and he ran for 47 yards. It's a good clip. But then he saw 4 targets, caught 2 of them for 18 yards. He, should have had a touchdown on 1, but was overthrown. And that kind of hurts as well. But watching the game, this is a guy that is explosive. He is electric. You saw it.
I was like, I was texting you saying, why is James Robinson getting all the work? Where is Travis Etienne? Every time he touched the ball, he looked great.
James Robinson, it's wild, because you hear the Cam Akers narratives, the torn Achilles, this guy shouldn't be good. No way that James Robinson can be back. James Robinson was never an explosive guy. He's just a guy that could run, and he's big enough to handle the workload. It's a long season, so I'm not going to run it past anything happening. But right now, it looks like they want James Robinson to have the ball. And for where I drafted and where a lot of people drafted Travis Etienne, you're hurting right now.
That is going to suck if this continues.
Yeah, it's going to suck. It's even worse than the DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams narratives from last year. It's a full blown committee right now, and you hate to see it. Another guy that really broke my heart, and this is where you and I have kind of gone back and forth, Travis, is Kareem Hunt. He is one of my heartbreakers, because yes, he had a great game if you started him, but he has only started in 53% of leagues on Sleeper, and
that
probably similarly started across other platforms. Kareem Hunt had 19 standard points for us, but even better games in other leagues. Kareem Hunt, like you said, faces the Jets. He'll be started sometimes over Kareem Hunt or over Alvin Kamara.
Sometimes.
But this is a guy that,
as you should,
where you drafted him, you probably felt that, okay, maybe I have another flex guy. For me, it was Michael Thomas. I started Michael Thomas over Kareem Hunt in my flex. So it kind of worked out. But Kareem Hunt, a lot of people didn't start him, and they're feeling it. That you hate to see a bench party anytime you're playing fantasy. Another guy to wrap up our heartbreakers is none other than Kyle Pitts, going for 7 targets, 2 receptions, and 19 yards. That one hurts.
Just like we said.
You spent a 3rd round pick probably to get this guy, 4th round pick, and that's a gut punch. Much like Mark Andrews, you expected so much more from this guy.
He's not getting 1,000 yards.
I don't know if I'm necessarily going to go that far, but he's going to need a lot of help. And it's tough. It's really tough. Thank you, Jared, for feeling good about my pain. It feels good to see that I'm bringing joy to others. But that's where I can leave it there, Kyle Pitts. We have no need to pile on, but I feel like better days are ahead for him, and this just wasn't one of them. I don't necessarily think next week's going to be much better when he has to go up against the Los Angeles Rams.
No thanks.
Nope. While we're talking about guys who are cold, Travis, can you give me 2 guys that you expect will stay cold heading into week 2 and beyond?
I can. The first group of guys are the Jets wide receivers. I think it is going to stay very cold and very ugly for this group. Yes, the Ravens are good. They're a great franchise, but what we saw from the Jets receivers is going to be a common theme over the first 5 to 6 weeks. This is not friendly. Zach Wilson out at least 3 more weeks. Then he comes back to a gauntlet. Listen to the next 5 or so games for the Jets. They've got Cleveland, who their D-line is just like the Ravens. They're going to get after you. Then they've got Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Miami, Green Bay, Denver. They're not winning any of these games. And the narrative could be, they're coming from behind and they're going to be force-fed, for lack of a better term, they have to get them the ball. Sure, they do have to, but you're trusting an old Joe Flacco to get these receivers the ball. Elijah Moore, somebody that I had quite a bit of until pretty late in the offseason, and his price still stayed so high, and I was able to move him for guys like another underperformer, Devontae Smith. But I like the talents. Both of those receivers are good receivers. I say this all the time on the show. It is not their fault. It's going to be a rough first half of the year for the Jets receivers. Maybe one of them is a buy low. Maybe if you could get Elijah Moore after week 4 or 5, before the schedule gets a little lighter and Zach Wilson's back and rolling, that's probably a good guy to keep an eye on. Second is Ramondre Stevenson, 10 touches, 27 yards. Next 3 games: Steelers, Ravens, Packers. 2 of those on the road. No, thank you. I do not like what we saw from New England. Damian Harris is the clear one there. Ramondre Stevenson is not going to get 50% of the work like a lot of people had hoped, especially in the Twitter community. People just jumped on this Ramondre train that was created on Twitter. Damian Harris is the one you want. I'm staying away from Stevenson. He is not a buy low for me after a bad week 1.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll keep it going on this ice cold train. My cold player that I think is going to stay cold this week is going to be Ezekiel Elliott. We don't need to mention which team he's on. We just need to talk about who he's facing, and that's the Cincinnati Bengals. They're not exactly the world beaters of the run game, but he is facing a team without his quarterback. He is going to be going in most likely with Cooper Rush. A lot of stacked boxes. This is a team that, pretty much kept the Steelers in check as well. So I don't expect a lot of success, especially after losing their left guard and still dealing with a backup left tackle. And I think it's going to be a struggle to move the ball on the ground. They are going to feed him quite a bit, but I don't necessarily know that it's going to be a lot of effective use, or especially for where you were drafting him. You might want to look elsewhere. Honestly, if you have Kareem Hunt and you have Ezekiel Elliott, I'm probably playing Kareem Hunt over Zeke. My next is probably going to be a little bit controversial, but shouldn't be. Derrick Henry over against the Buffalo Bills. I think he's going to have another ice-cold matchup. The Giants did an okay job of stopping him. Saw that one highlight of the defender decleating him a little bit, and you don't see that large of a man flying through the air too often. But he's facing Buffalo, and Buffalo showed out against the Rams. Sure, they had some success on the ground, but I think that they're going to come ready. I believe this game is in Buffalo, and it's just not good. Yeah, it is in Buffalo. I don't see the Titans having as much success, if that's what you want to call it, against the Bills defense, a unit who I think is probably tops in the league. Yeah. So we'll see. Derrick Henry is a man amongst boys, but I think this one is a game where we can expect to see him be brought back down to earth.
Buffalo is coming for people's throats every week.
Sure. They want that title, and they're not going to stop till they get it. Rolling right along, though, Travis, conversely, talking about some guys that we think are going to get hot. I'll lead it off with my number 1 guy, a guy that I'm happy to see back in the fold. It's none other than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He gets the Chargers, who give up enough rushing yards to feed a whole team, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire shows that he is actually the guy in this backfield. Isaiah Pacheco wasn't much of a threat until it got into garbage time. Jerick McKinnon really only receiving some receiving work. Ronald Jones wasn't even active for this game. So I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire going to be a huge part of their game plan. They like to spread it out. I think he'll have enough running room to be a running back 2 for you, which is exactly where you drafted him, especially in a matchup where they're going to need him to score. Next one is Michael Thomas against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, Michael Thomas looked like himself at times in that first week back against the Falcons. Now, the Tampa Bay defense is not the Atlanta Falcons defense, but he only played 61% of snaps and still pulled off a 8-target, 5-reception, 72-yard performance along with those 2 touchdowns. I think he's going to be even more volume, and he's going to be using the red zone. I think there's going to be scoring opportunities. You brought up that they're going to stop the run. The pass is a different story. Decent defensive backfield, but Michael Thomas is a special talent. So I'm hoping that the talent and connection with Jameis Winston will continue to play out and grow. So I think Michael Thomas going to put up another borderline wide receiver 1 week here. Who are your guys that you expect to stay hot this week?
As we wrap this up here, Antonio Gibson stays hot. 21 touches, 130 yards, and 7 catches. J.D. McKissic only 7 touches. This is Antonio Gibson's show. This is what we hoped for all offseason. Like we already said, Brian Robinson not in the picture. Unfortunate for him. Very fortunate for Antonio Gibson and Antonio Gibson owners. This will continue. They've got the Lions, the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Titans, and the Bears the next 5. It is juicy. Gibson is going to continue to get around 20 touches a game and be very reliable. I believe is a reliable top 12 running back over the first half of the year, hopefully beyond. Second, Christian Kirk, 12 target day, 117 yards. 12 targets is elite company. He is the clear number 1 option there. I think it continues. For as long as Christian Kirk is healthy, they are going to pepper him with targets. That's why they paid him that money. So I think if you have Christian Kirk, do not move him. Do not sell him high. Plug him and play him. He will be very reliable. 12. You cannot argue with 12 targets.
Absolutely. No, I agree. In an offense that definitely looked like it took a step up from last year. He's someone I'm definitely keeping an eye on, and you could even still buy low with a big name who underperformed. So that's something I'm keeping an eye on as well. So make sure you watch that situation and watch that offense unfold. We got a week in the books, man. We covered it all. That felt good, man. That felt good. We've got another fun show coming up after a couple days. We're gonna have we have another guest coming up this week, Travis, and we got to prep for him
in 10 minutes.
In 10 minutes. But other than that, y'all, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. This has been Losing Sucks, and remember, losing sucks. Don't do it.